Hey, guess what? This is my lazy vlog. A couple of days ago, day before yesterday actually, I did an AMA on Reddit. And I'm going to make a YouTube video answering a bunch of those questions for anybody who was unable to make it to the actual AMA. So watch for that in the next couple of days. But I'm going to talk about one thing that was one of the main topics of discussion on this AMA. And I felt like it warranted its own video, so that's what I'm talking about right now. How to talk to a famous person, because it might seem like one of the most first world-y problems of first world problems, but as somebody who has been experiencing this for pretty much my whole life, I can tell you that if handled the wrong way, this is a legitimate issue that can be very isolating and difficult to deal with. So I'm gonna talk about how to handle this not the wrong way. First, real quick, I want to, aside from that, real quick, I'd like to say thank you very much to everybody who came out to the AMA, had a great time, but also thank you everybody who donated to my fundraiser for my web series, the Darkest Timeline. I'm very, very much appreciative of you deciding to have faith in me and in this project, and I'm gonna do my best not to let you down. I know that we're gonna make something great. It's gonna be awesome, and I'm very, very grateful that those of you that you've decided to support the fundraiser. Thank you beyond words, and to everybody else. Take a moment, hopefully maybe take a moment to look at my Indiegogo campaign and help me make the best web series that we can make. I'll put a link in the place where links generally are, and at the end of this video, please and thank you. And now I'm gonna move into it. So, how to talk to a famous person. There's a right way to do it, and there's a not so right way to do it. First, I'm gonna say, if you're out somewhere and you see somebody that you recognize from something, the first and foremost thing to remember is that they are a person too, just like you. They put their pants on one leg at a time. They poop just like you. Whatever it is that you know them from is, or at least was, just their chosen profession. So whatever they're doing, like if you're at a restaurant and you see them across the room enjoying a meal, they're out enjoying, real life just like you. So the first thing to keep in mind is probably don't talk to them. Probably leave them be, let them enjoy their day, just like you're trying to enjoy your day, or let them get through their day, depending on what they're doing. You don't know what they're doing. Just leave them be. Leave them be, let them do their thing. Recognize them and say to yourself, hey, I know that person, that's cool, but then leave it be. Now, if you're just like, I have to talk to him, I'm such a big fan, I can't not talk to him, then talk to him, but do this. Just try to, A, not be rude, and B, take up as little time of theirs as possible. Something like, hello, so-and-so, just wanted to let you know I'm a huge fan of your work. Thank you so much for doing what you do or what you have done, and enjoy the rest of your day and leave. Move on. That's all that needs to be said. Anything more than that can be a little unwelcome and can breed resentment or annoyance. Like I said, I know this is a very first worldy type problem, but it's legitimate. What you don't want to do is quote the movie to them, or whatever it is that you know them from. Quote the thing to them. Ask them to quote it back to you. Give them a long story. Take up a bunch of their time, or just generally be rude. Don't make fun of them. Don't taunt them. Whatever. Just like take up as little time as possible. Don't call them out on things. You know what I mean? Definitely don't quote the movie or whatever it is, and don't ask them to perform for you. Like you wouldn't ask an accountant to do math for you. Don't ask them to, because I promise you are not the first person to recognize them. Chances are. And you won't be the last. And when they get it wherever they go and it follows them, it can be a problem. Now, on the other hand, there are some circumstances wherein it is okay to talk to them and to do those things. If you're at like Comic-Con or a film festival, or if you're at some big event where they are putting themselves out there and inviting this kind of attention, then it's completely okay. I was at the film festival a couple weeks ago with my producer, because my film was screening there, and Pierce Brosnan was there because he was the producer of a film that was screening there. And after his film screened, he stood outside the theater for a good 15 minutes, just meeting people, taking pictures, shaking hands, and in that situation, he was inviting the attention. So it's completely okay to come up and talk to him. I stood there with my producer for like the majority of that 15 minutes while she just, giddy like a fangirl, tried to get up the courage to go and talk to him. And I kept nudging her and telling her, hey, like right now is acceptable to talk to him. If any other time, it wouldn't be so much. But right now, do it. Go talk to him. It's okay. I almost dragged her up there and introduced her to him for her. Eventually, she got up the courage and she went up and talked to him, and she got a selfie with him, and he was very cool about it. He was a very nice guy. It was a very cool moment, but he was inviting that kind of attention and putting himself out there. Had we been at like a restaurant or, a store or whatever, like if you run into Scarlett Johansson at the grocery store, probably best to just not say anything. Or if you do say something, be quick and move on. Hello, Mrs. Johansson. Just wanted to tell you I'm a fan of your work. Thank you for doing it. Have a good day. Move on. Nothing more needs to be said, because I promise you, whatever else that you might say, they've heard many times, and they don't need to hear it again. They're not that they're not appreciative that you are a fan. Of course they appreciate their fans. In many cases, their fans are why they are where they are. But just the very fact that they have to be appreciative of their fans, and they are, but there's that fine balance of being appreciative for the people that like their work and being pestered by the people that like their work, and not being able to say that they're being pestered because they have to be appreciative. And this can be a very isolating situation. And like I said, I've been experiencing this for the majority of my life. Like I can't even remember a time when I haven't had this experience. So, now let me kick you another scenario also. And this is fairly common. I'm not the only one that has gone through this. Let's say that, okay, like myself, like I did Hook when I was 6 years old, and I stopped acting when I was 7 years old. And I didn't get back into filmmaking until I was in my 20s. So there was a good time in there where I was trying to live like a normal citizen. I went to public school. I had day jobs. I mean, I was doing, everything that every normal person did. And so if you, and I know I'm not the only one, plenty of people did something when they were younger and don't do it anymore and are now doing completely unrelated things. So if you should find out that you go to school with or work with somebody who was at one time in something that you would know them from, this is a whole other scenario, and there is a right and a wrong way to do this. I should say a respectful and a not respectful way to do this. And keeping in mind that chances are, if you work with or go to school with this person, you're going to see them more than once. You're going to see them, often. And so what you don't want to do is make every time that you see them, you don't want to make it all about the thing you know them from. Because eventually that's going to lead to resentment and them not wanting to talk to you. You don't want to just bring it up all the time. You definitely don't want to quote the movie to them or whatever it is to them every time. Like during the AMA the other night, somebody mentioned that they went to school with the actor from Hook that played Peter's son and would sit near them in class and whisper to them, "Run home, Jack," during lectures. And that's not okay. Like, that's kind of rude, actually. And you might have meant well or not. I don't know what you meant. But you might not be saying anything that is inherently an insult or a put down, but I promise you that he was taking that like it was taunting and demeaning. And I know this because when I went to public school, people would shout at me, "Good night, Neverland," from, I'd be walking down the corridor and people would randomly shout that. Or in class, they would say that. And I know that to a lot of people, that quote, "Good night, Neverland," is a memorable, meaningful quote. And I'm very glad and happy that to be the one that delivered such a quotable line. But when I was growing up, that line seemed to be used against me a lot. And when people would say it to me, it would feel like I was being taunted because they would shout, "Good night, Neverland," and then laugh. And it starts to feel a little isolating because that's all it seemed like anybody cared about. So if you're in that situation and you want to talk to the person, don't let it only be about that. Dare I say, befriend them and actually be their friend for not just the thing that you know them from. Talk to them about other things. Become their friend. Learn about their lives. Tell them about your life. Talk about the work or the school or whatever it is that you're doing. Talk about other things. Treat them like a normal person, how you would want to be treated. Imagine if you were constantly being bugged or bothered or harassed about one thing every day, all the time. It can wear on you. Now, here's the thing. Anybody that I consider a friend, anyone who is actually my friend, whether they're a close friend or not, like even just a casual acquaintance who I talk to regularly, anyone, depending, there are give and takes here, but anyone who is a friend of mine, like, I don't mind talking to them about Hook as much as they want. I'm fine with that. It doesn't bother me because I know that's not the only thing they care about. But if it were the only thing that they cared about, if it were like the only reason they were talking to me and I knew that, then that's a problem. And then, so talk to them, right, about other things. And then a car just started outside. So talk to them about other things like a normal person and then kind of use your best judgment. And eventually, when it feels like it's a comfortable and all right time to do so, then bring it up. And as long as they know that that's not the only thing that you care about, then they'll probably be willing to talk to you about it. Now, here's another thing is after you've talked about it, I'm trying to do a video here. After you've talked to them about it, don't stop talking to them. Don't disappear. That can lead to hurt feelings and resentment. Like I said, they're people too, and if they feel like they were taken advantage of, if they feel like you were only talking to them just for the one thing, that can sour things and can be a problem. And I guess just at the end of the day, remember that they're people too, and are deserving and worthy of the same respect as any other people. Just keep that in mind when in dealing with these scenarios, and use your best judgment. And on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and go because I'm told I talk too long on these lazy vlogs, and I'm at almost 14 minutes now. So I gotta try to make these lazy vlogs less long. And when people told me that I talk too long, I only started talking longer. I'm going to try to make them shorter. But for now, I'm going to go. I hope that I said something useful to somebody. And yeah, so that's going to be it. Hey, guess what? This was my lazy vlog.